Hi, I'm Eric Post. I'm an economist here at ITR Economics. I hope you've had a chance to check out the first two videos, one on checking points and rates of change and the other on selecting indicators. This third video is really a culmination of the first two. So now what? You have your indicators, you know how to look at rates of change, you know how to interpret checking points. What do you do with that information? How can it help you use your DataCast program to its fullest extent? So we're going to go through tracking a system of key indicators, learning how to distinguish between different types of indicators, and then some final steps as far as how to utilize the resources that we have here at ITR to help you through the process of utilizing your DataCast. So let's start with a system of key indicators. I'm going to start here on the View Analysis tab. And if you go into the View Analysis tab, I've searched down here for ITR leading because I know that I want to pick the ITR leading indicator to see how that looks for my company. I'm going to do a couple of things with that. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to toggle the lead lag button on. That'll enable me to see what is the ITR leading indicator, typically is lead time to your company, leads most companies. What does that mean for your company? The other thing I'm going to do is go down here and click this little button that has a little chart on it. It goes kind of like this. It's the leftmost of the three buttons on the right-hand side. What that does is it selects the ITR leading indicator as an indicator that I'm going to track via charts over time. So what I would do is I would do this not only for the ITR leading indicator, but any of the indicators that you've identified as being key indicators in your initial selection of indicators. Again, refer to the previous video if you need help on what makes for a good system of indicators. All right, so once I click that little chart button, the little swoopy whoop chart, it'll go down, and if I go into saved charts, it's going to show me all of the indicators where I've clicked that little chart button. So let's pretend the ITR leading indicator is up here. I'm pretending I'm running a machinery business. And so I've picked general purpose machinery production, and I'm looking here at US machinery new orders, right? Obviously has a connection to the machining business that I'm pretending to run here today. And it certainly has a very nice relationship to the company that I'm looking at, my company in this case. So when I look here at this indicator, I'm looking for a couple of things. Number one, I'm looking to see if the business cycle peaks and troughs align. And the other thing I'm looking for is not just how they align horizontally based on time, but how do they align based on amplitude. In this case, the leading indicator matches pretty well with my company at peaks and troughs. It's not perfect, but it's pretty predictive. You can see here in 2001, 2002, that recession, the blue line and the green line are basically on top of each other at the bottom of that cycle. Same thing happens at the bottom of the Great Recession here. Same thing happens over here in the 2016 oil price crash. So that's good news because that means not only can I use machinery new orders as a timing indicator on the horizontal axis, but I can also use it as a rough rule of thumb in terms of amplitude. So if I go over here, I can see that because machinery new orders is a trends report series and the trends report is included in your DataCast, I can see these little dots that show me the trajectory that ITR is forecasting for machinery new orders. So what I can do with that information is, to the extent that these two lines move together, I can use that forecast to inform how my company might perform. And if I do this for all of the indicators that match amplitudes really well, that's going to give me a pretty good idea of where my company's growth rates are going to be headed. Even if I have an indicator that maybe isn't such a great amplitude indicator, like the US OECD leading indicator, and while it provides a very nice predictive relationship in terms of the timing of the business cycle peaks and troughs, you can see they line up horizontally quite well. In terms of the amplitude, the vertical, they don't line up so great, right? If you look here, the company my hypothetical company here avoided recession completely, whereas the US OECD leading indicator went well below the zero line. So I can't trust that nearly as much as the prior slide, where machinery new orders and my hypothetical machinery business tended to move very closely together. So I'm going to still track this indicator. It's still a great indicator for timing, but I'm going to keep in mind that its amplitudes really aren't nearly as important as the business cycle turns, the peaks and the troughs in that indicator. So once I have my amplitude indicators distinguished from my timing indicators, I can actually do my analysis. So let's take another look here at US machinery new orders. I have on the left axis my company, its rates of change go from -16 to +16. Over here on the right axis, I have the indicator plotted, and it goes from -24 to +24. So now I've divided my world into amplitude indicators that probably are also pretty good timing indicators, and those indicators that are just good for timing, like the US OECD leading indicator. So now when I have my machinery business here in blue, let's go back and see how it compares to machinery new orders one more time in green. The blue data, that's my company, is plotted on the left axis, and that goes from -16 to +16. The green line, which is the indicator here, is plotted from -24 to +24. So a real easy way to think of that is that my company is only 2/3 as volatile as the indicator data. Most of the time you'll see this reversed. Usually your company will be more volatile than the indicator data, but sometimes not. It just varies. The important thing here is to see if those amplitudes are predictive, because if they are, what I can do is I can mouse over this peak that's our forecast for US machinery new orders, and I can see that we're projecting right now a 15.5% peak for machinery new orders. Well, if I know that my company is about 2/3 as volatile as machinery new orders, all I have to do is take that 15.5 and multiply it by 2/3, and I come up that I should have about a 10.3% peak. That's what new orders is suggesting for my business. Now, in addition to that amplitude, I can also tell the timing. And so if I mouse again over that top point for machinery new orders at the peak of the cycle, I can see that that turning point is supposed to happen in early 2022, the first quarter of 2022. So that gives me two pieces of information: how high I should peak and when I should peak. That's great. I can do the same thing at the trough, and I can see that the outlook that ITR has for machinery new orders is just a little bit above zero, and that low occurs in late 2023. So I know that my 12/12 rate of change low for my company should be about 2/3 of whatever this low point is for machinery new orders, and it should occur again, once I mouse over that and I adjust for the lead lag time by clicking on that toggle lead lag, it's going to tell me what the timing should be for that 12/12 rate of change low for my business. Let's take a look at the US OECD leading indicator. Well, we don't forecast that indicator because it's a leading indicator, it's not a market, and it's not in the trends report, and so it doesn't have a forecast. But what it does tell me is about timing again. And so if I mouse over this peak over here, it's going to tell me that I should expect my 12/12 rate of change to be peaking about April 2022, 12 months later, accounting for the lead lag time from the peak in which the US OECD leading indicator actually occurred. So this is going to be helpful because it will help me with the timing, and I know that I can't rely on its amplitude. So I would do this process if I were in your shoes for each and every one of those key indicators, whether they're just timing indicators or whether they identify both timing and amplitude of your company's likely trajectory. Once you have those, all you do is you put them in a table. For this video, I'm just including the two that I've just gone over, US machinery new orders and the US OECD leading indicator. But as a matter of practice, you would fill out this table with however many indicators you had. If you had 10 great indicators, you'd fill it out for those 10 indicators. If you had 20, you'd do 20. And all you do is you fill in, okay, well, machinery new orders, that suggested that 10.3% peak in 1Q22 for the US OECD leading indicator. It didn't have anything to say about the amplitude, but it did tell me about the timing. And if I look at that Excel file and I look at the dispersion in that table of the timing and the amplitudes, I should get a very good idea of where my business is likely headed. And that is the power of DataCast, right? You don't have to guess about where your business is headed. It is an empirical process. It's a repeatable process. You can do this every month or every quarter and refill out this table and come up with a great set of information about where your company is headed. It's exactly the same process that I do as an economist and all the other economists who forecast here at ITR do as well. We are doing this same sort of process where we're looking at timing and we're looking at the amplitude of the relevant indicators to see where we should be forecasting the business that we are forecasting. Okay, so that's the key takeaway. What now? Well, if you haven't scheduled your free econ chat already, please do. We have a great team that puts together wonderful chats, and they will walk you through one-on-one how to use DataCast, what indicators they think might be great, and answer any questions that you have. It's a tremendous value, and it's included free as part of your program. If you've already used your econ chat, please don't let that preclude you from reaching out to us again. You can always purchase additional econ chats one by one, however many you need, and we can tailor them to meet your needs. So please reach out to customer care and they'd be happy to walk you through that. Please reach out to customer care if your needs change or if you're having difficulty using the program. We are here to help. We're a small business. We pride ourselves on being able to offer that interpersonal relationship between us and our clients. That's what we do best. Another thing I wanted to highlight, though, is you're not just on your own using DataCast and interfacing a little bit with customer care. You also have the full backing of ITR's consultative services at your beck and call. You can always reach out to us to purchase additional econ chats, like I said, but that's far from the only thing that we offer. We forecast a 12-quarter outlook of company sales as part of a different program separate from DataCast. If that's something that would be of value for you to have that 12-quarter look into the future, independently produced by our economists here at ITR, that's something we can do. That program comes with free webinars, and so you'll get to learn every quarter. We typically do that program 4 times a year. You'll get 4 forecasts per year and 4 webinars that cover the forecast. Why are we forecasting what we're forecasting? What are the risks to your business, both upside and downside? And most importantly, of course, what can you do to outperform that cycle? And that, I think, is the key part of whether you're using DataCast or any of our programs, is what we want to do here at ITR is enable you to make better business decisions. And so whether you're using DataCast to figure out what your turning points are going to be and your amplitudes of your company, or you're partnering with us in some of our consultative services to get a real concrete, deeper look at your business, it's going to enable you to act with confidence about the future and be making the right move ahead of time so that when you get there and your business gets there, you're able to be profitable and outperform your competitors. Thanks so much. I really hope these 3 videos have helped. I've really enjoyed walking you through. If you have any questions, again, don't hesitate to reach out to us here. Thanks again.